Sex and happiness both enrich our lives, yet it's surprising how few people can honestly say that they enjoy regular and fulfilling sex or describe themselves and their lives as happy. Host Laurie Handlers helps you to experience real intimacy and happiness. You'll laugh a little, learn a little, and we hope put a smile on your face and a smile in your life. Now here's Laurie.
Hi, everybody. This is Laurie Handlers, and you're listening to Sex and Happiness, a show about your sex and your happiness. And today I am very, very excited to be bringing you a show with a person who I don't know personally, but I should. That's what I was told. And I took the advice and I got in touch with her. And I'm very excited about it because her work is pivotal. My word, pivotal in the lives of men and women and in my life, in my every single day life, in my relationship. And I'll explain more about that as we go on in the show. But I just want to say, she's not in my vicinity. We're recording this, but if I could touch her right now, I would hug her for the way she trained the man that's in my life. What better thing could I say about anyone? So without further ado, let me tell you who she is. Her name is Alison Armstrong. She leads PAX programs. They're your source for understanding men and women. She distinguishes human instincts that compel both men and women to behave in ways that contradict and undermine our own purposes, goals, values, needs, and relationships. She offers partnership-based alternatives, giving millions of people access to more fulfilling lives, loving relationships, stronger families, and productive organizations. And when we talk, you will hear some of these things that have influenced my life. So welcome to my show, Alison Armstrong.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. I just couldn't go on. After my partner, Michael, introduced me to your programs, we were on a drive for my and his birthday to the Grand Canyon. And he said, I'm bringing these CDs. You have to listen to them. Now, I've heard about you before from other people, but it was like, this was compelling. The man that I love and adore gets in the car and goes, we got to listen to these CDs, something I would do. So I said, okay. And we kind of laughed and cried the whole way driving from Phoenix to the Grand Canyon. And I was enthralled. I was just enthralled by how specific you are, how wonderful the programs are. So let's just talk a little bit about how did you become this in the world? How did you understand men and understand women? I mean, when you were in 7th grade, did your guidance counselor say you were going to become?
No. Most of my teachers recommended I become a lawyer because I argued with them all the time. It didn't matter really what class it was. I wanted to know more. I wanted to know why. I wanted to know, but what about? So very curious and always just standing up for logic. Logic has always been really important to me. And when people, like, for example, they'd be talking about history and they're saying why certain people did something and it made no sense. And, just because it's written in a book, I should believe it. It made no sense. People, right? So, I've always been compelled to make sense of things, to unwind it. My father's an engineer. His father was an engineer as a petroleum geologist, and the way I put it is instead of taking apart radios, I taken apart men and women and just like, so why? What's the good reason for that? What if we're not broken? What if we're not misbehaving? What if we're not stupid? What if we're not actually selfish and self-centered and inconsiderate? What if there's a good reason for everything we do? And just keep searching until honestly, I keep searching until I get to the point where a different choice could have the biggest impact with the least amount of effort, the least amount of suffering, the least amount of constraint, because freedom is my highest value. So I'm always looking for the thing that we could do, the thing we could say, the information we could divulge, the magic words like, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. Just what is it that at that point could change everything for the better for both of us? So
good.
Yeah, honoring you, honoring me, not one of the most important things I learned from men when we used to have live workshops. There was a question to a panel, what did you have to compromise to be married? And this man said, I don't believe in compromise. And I thought, wow, he's not going to be married long. Right? And then, because, I'd been taught compromise is very important for marriage. Mm-hmm. And he went on to say, he said, I don't believe in compromise. I want my wife and I to stay in it and duke it out until we come up with something better. And and that caused me to look compromise up in the dictionary. And it said a negotiation where each side gives up something important. I thought, oh my gosh, no wonder he doesn't want to compromise. No wonder no man ever wants to compromise, because when a man says something's important, that is the next strongest word he has to I require it, to I need it, right?
Yeah,
so
it's important. That's right. Yeah.
It's the word right next to I would die without it. Yeah. And so if you notice, anytime we've ever given up something important, we end up resentful. And resentment, of course, causes all these mental and emotional disconnects, which, of course, immediately results in a physical disconnect. And so, we need to learn to not compromise. We need to learn how to be uncomfortable with the tension of, we haven't solved this yet. We're not going to rush to a conclusion. We're going to hang out here until we come up with something beautiful, which I found out, things that are truly beautiful are naturally sustainable, right? When both people think they've gotten the better side of the deal, those are deals that last for a really long time.
Yeah, so that's the true nature of what you're saying is a win-win situation where you really do win, and you were willing to be uncomfortable rather than put a Band-Aid on it or give up the price of admission being too high.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and let's keep talking about it until we've revealed what isn't important, what I thought I cared about, but when it comes down to, no, that's just something I'm supposed to have, but I don't actually want it, right? Let's keep talking until everything that doesn't matter becomes clear and falls away, and all we're left with is what really does matter. And now how do we arrange this so we both get what really matters?
This man who was on the panel with you, I mean, does he know that he changed the game for you?
He doesn't know. I don't think he does, unless he's heard me quote him somewhere. I don't remember his name. I would totally say his name and credit him if I remembered. It was just shocking. I don't believe in compromise. What? Right? I mean, that was right up to one of my favorite questions in our sex and intimacy course was, does breast size matter? Right? And this man, he said with tremendous conviction, every breast should have a size. Oh, he just cracked those. Right? It was perfect. It's perfect.
So good.
So that's how go ahead.
So you've been at this for how many years?
Since 1991. February of 1991 is when I started studying men. It's funny, we were talking about it. I was actually in a course at Landmark Education, and my friend sitting next to me, she raised her hand and she demanded of the instructor, why is it that men are wonderful in the beginning and they will take you to romantic places and they'll give you gifts and they'll listen to you talk about your dogs and your family as if they care. And then after a few weeks or a few months, they turn into sports watching, pizza eating, beer belching couch slugs. Why is that? I don't do a Texas accent, but if you can imagine Texas accent,
Yeah.
red hair, pink lipstick, hand on her hip, she was demanding an answer. And the forum leader, his response was, he said, "Oh, I see, you're a frog farmer." Oh, what? Right?
I get it. You have to kiss a lot of frogs until you find a prince. I mean, I get what that forum leader meant.
Well, yeah. And what he said was, some women turn frogs into princes. Mm-hmm. You, my dear, turn princes into frogs. Mm. And that's when my life literally flashed before me, and all my relationships, and really how good I was at frog farming, because I thought men were cons. And they were just showing you what would sell until you were sold. And then once they knew they had you, their real selves emerged. And what he said, it was awesome for me because it meant maybe I had something to do with it. And if I had something to do with it, I could do something about it.
That's right.
Yeah. And so I was sitting there going, whoa, what if I'm bringing out the worst in men? But I just do what everybody else does. Oh boy. Okay. So I better not look to women for how to fix this. So that's when I thought, okay, well, I'm going to find out what it is that brings out the worst in them. And this question popped into my head: what if men are responding to women? And that's where I started. It was just trying to find out ways that men were responding to women. So what did she do? What did she say? What was the look on her face? What was her attitude? And in the process, I found out all kinds of ways men are not responding to women. Mm-hmm. So things we take personally that we shouldn't take them personally at all. They have nothing to do with any woman. Not his mother, not his ex-wife, not you, nothing. It has to do with being a man. And so, yeah, that was February of 1991. I thought, honestly, Laura, I thought it would take 2 or 3 months to learn everything. I did. I thought it would take 2 or 3 months to learn everything that was worth knowing about men because, of course, I knew men were shallow. And now, 28 years later, they still blow my mind.
Yeah. I want to just say something. I want to make a context for the now, which is it seems that your work is needed more than ever in the pursuit of understanding men and understanding women because of what's happened in our world. We don't have to get too into it. I always mention it in the shows, though. I'm very disheartened by what's happened as a result of Me Too and this new MGTOW, which is the women blaming men like crazy, some true, some not true, definitely needing to get the air out, but then just making them all wrong, and men deciding to not have anything to do with women. That's very sad for me. I feel like we need each other, and I feel in my gut that your work is more so needed and necessary than probably ever for people to understand each other and for people to work it out. So I'm in advance thanking you for what you do, and I'm saying, yeah, the men blow my mind too. They're so awesome. So yeah.
Well, and something.
Go ahead.
If I could say something about 2 parts of that.
Yeah.
One is that by mostly in studying men, I spent a lot of time listening, and mostly what men wanted to talk about was women and how amazing women are and how much they love them and how much they admire them. And I was shocked. I what? And I actually, listening to men, I began seeing women differently and myself differently. And I actually am more respectful and honoring of myself because of what men taught me about who women are. And with you, the sadness for me about #MeToo is the falseness. I mean, truth is my second highest quality, right next to freedom. And the falseness of perpetuating the idea that only men abuse power. And
Amen.
I mean, that's the whole premise, is that men abuse power. Women honestly abuse power equally. It's a different kind of power, but we're vicious with it. And so that's to me the part that's just false. And all abuses of power are, in any context, are reprehensible, but they're also understandable. If you pay attention to human instincts, people have needs, compelling instinctual needs, that they are driven to do whatever it takes to fulfill them. And the difference is that good people are ashamed of what they did, and bad people are not. And so I actually did a whole hour and a half for my leadership on #MeToo, and really what it comes down to, what I think it comes down to, is each of us looking at what is my part in the abuse of power, what is my part in being complicit, what is my part in ignoring it, what is my part in not standing up to it, where do I abuse power, whether it's as a parent, a wife, a woman, a man, an employer, a citizen. It's human nature. So that's, thank you. I'm glad you mentioned it, because until we become responsible for having human instincts, we won't have enough awareness to choose behavior that supports our dreams and love and passion and intimacy and peace, right? None of our instincts pull for any of that.
Really well said. Thank you. Thanks for responding to my statement about it. We're going to take a short break here, and when we come back, I'm going to ask you about some of the tenets of your programs. How are men and women different? Some of the basics. And if you just tuned in, you're listening to Sex and Happiness. I'm Laurie Handlers, and today I'm interviewing Allison Armstrong, who offers PAX programs, PAX programs. And Allison, she talks about men. Her website, by the way, is understandmen.com, and she makes programs for men and for women to understand each other. And if we ever needed that in our lives, it's right now that we need it the most. So this is so timely that she's on the show today. So stay tuned. We're coming right back. Did you ever stop to think that love is your birthright? That you don't need to earn it or prove it? You just need to live it. I'm personally inviting you to the path of true love, power, and freedom. If you're ready to enliven your soul through conscious sexuality and dive deeply into profound ritual that frees your heart, I'm inviting you to join us for the Spiritual Sexual Shamanic Experience. This is better known to most of you as the ISTA Level 1 training. I am regularly leading these courses along with a team of accomplished facilitators all around the world. As a matter of fact, these trainings have taken place in 34 countries. For information on when I'm leading, go to butterflyworkshops.com. Or for a full schedule, you can go to schooloftemplearts.org. Please consider this invitation seriously, because love and freedom are your natural state of being.
Are you wondering what book to read to jumpstart your life? Get the best from relationships? Attain the deepest feelings of intimacy? Do you want the best sex along with great happiness? Get your copy of Sex and Happiness, The Tantric Laws of Intimacy by Laurie Handlers right now. You'll learn how to make love in the unknown, take the performance anxiety and reaching a goal out of sex. You'll learn subtle ways of communication and really important practices to empower you when dealing with an intimate partner. You'll let go of blame and struggle. Doesn't this sound great? Sex and Happiness puts the innocence back into sex and gives Tantra the respect it deserves. Take charge of your life, physically, emotionally, and spiritually with Sex and Happiness by Laurie Handlers, only $19.99 paperback and $14.99 ebook. Order your copy today by going to butterflyworkshops.com. That's butterflyworkshops.com for your copy of Sex and Happiness.
My question for people right now is, if you're a woman who could use a little zest and zing in your arousal response, or maybe you know women or a woman who could use this, because many women say that their feelings of desire, arousal, and sexual satisfaction don't happen as naturally or as often as they'd like. So I want to tell you about Zestra, because Zestra was developed to meet this much-needed option for women. Zestra's safe and a patented blend of botanical oils and extracts, and it's created to help women have increased sexual sensations. Zestra comes in convenient single-dose personal packets. Each packet keeps the essential arousal oils and extracts free, fresh, and safe from light. And with application of Zestra, it starts to work within 3 to 5 minutes. And at about 10 minutes, there's something called the Zestra Rush. And that can last up to about 45 minutes. The great news is that Zestra can be used as frequently as you like during each sexual experience. Now, I'm somebody who believes that all women deserve sexual satisfaction. That's why I do this show, in case you hadn't noticed. So I believe that men and women deserve sexual satisfaction. So if you're a woman who isn't getting that kind of arousal response that you want, please call 877-426-8047. That's 877-426-8047. And please remember to say you heard about Zestra from Laurie Handlers on the Sex and Happiness Show.
We are back with Sex and Happiness. Again, I'm Laurie Handlers, and my guest today is Allison Armstrong, who I'm excited to have on the show. It's just a great opportunity. It took a while to book her on this show, and she has great wisdom to share with us about men and women. And this stuff comes up in all my classes. If I'm teaching a class on sacred sexuality, there's all this distrust. There's all this, if a man is a little older than some of the women in the class, there's all these projections, there's all kinds of stuff. And really what I've come to know is that men just want to love and appreciate us, and they want to get things right. And Allison is a big force in teaching men how to get things right with women. So Allison, what are some of the basic tenets that you could tell us in a short segment, about, about the program? Obviously, I'm not asking you to deliver the program, but hopefully people will pique their curiosity, and their interest will be so piqued if they haven't heard of you, that they will go and find you after this. So what are some of the basic things that you could tell us, or the differences? You mentioned already in the first segment about saying, I'm sorry I hurt you, but we can save that till the end of this segment. So, yeah.
Well, I chuckled because right now I have 99.4 hours of online curriculum. And that's just the video part. That's not every other thing, because I interact with our students live every week. So I just chuckled. Yeah, in 15 minutes, I'm gonna summarize 99 hours worth of stuff.
You can.
But I can't. But I can give some things that really help. So one of the things is, if you just start at the level of human instincts, right, before gender, and the way we've been able to articulate it is there's a hierarchy of instincts that even goes beyond humans. And if you start looking at human behavior through this, so many things can be illuminated. And the hierarchy is procreate, then protect, then provide. And this is something really important to figure out. We knew it was procreate and protect and provide, but when we saw the hierarchy, all of these things made sense. So may I give an example going backwards?
Sure.
Okay. So one of the things that's really hard for women is that often it seems like we're dealing with at least two different men. And one of them is really kind and generous and cooperative and even like trying to anticipate what we need. And the other is like a cranky, irritated, rude no. So, do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Yeah. So what I was finally able to unwind is that, yes, men they're natural providers, as are women. Women have their own procreate, protect, and provide. So men are natural providers. They want to provide. They want to provide what matters, right? They want to provide what's really important, right? What's not worth compromising over. Like, don't compromise over. And so when they're in provide mode, they're mind-boggling. They can challenge our abilities to receive. Even after all these years, I'm still challenged. And so that's one of the things that makes it shocking when you're used to someone being really generous and you ask them something like I did yesterday, honey, do you think when you pick up the eggs, you could bring some home for the neighbors?
Uh-huh.
I thought he'd be like, okay, I got this cranky response. No, I don't want to get involved in anything like that. Well, thank goodness I was smart enough to go, okay, wait a second. I just ran into the protector. Protect trumps provide. Okay, what is he probably protecting? And knowing Greg as well as I do after 27 years of being together, I could figure out, he'd be protecting his time, he'd be protecting his energy. And then he said this thing. He said, I don't want to change my routine. I want to come and go as I want. I don't have to deliver eggs to somebody.
Got it.
This may sound fun. This may sound funny to people. This might sound funny to people who live in this city, but to go get the eggs that I need, given my diet, that's like an hour and a half round trip for my husband. And one of Greg's highest values, like mine, is freedom. And for him, as a retired person, freedom is doing whatever you want, whenever the heck you want to. And so, he immediately hallucinated that he'd have to have the eggs back by a certain time every Wednesday, and what's that going to do to his freedom?
I totally get it.
Yes. So, and then if you look at that procreate, right? So procreate obviously is sex, but it isn't just sex. Procreate is generating. Procreate is building. So a man in his career, he is procreating. And especially what we would call a middle prince, right? They're procreating. And if a man is his own business, for example, and he's building a business, the intensity of the energy, it's the highest level you can have. I mean, this is why sex is what sex is. But building is the same kind of energy as sex. And it trumps protect and provide. So if a man is building, for example, a business and you're trying to talk to him about, honey, your son needs you to spend time with him, it literally doesn't compute. It doesn't compute. He can feel bad about not spending time with his son, but it doesn't change the way that his time and energy and resources are allocated, because it's going to go to procreate first. And then once you create something, now you protect it. And after you've protected it, now you provide for it, or you provide it for others. And if you just look at human behavior through this, okay, who am I talking to now? Am I talking to a warrior? Or am I talking to a hunter? right? So the warrior is the protector, the hunter is the provider, and you take that and now apply it to communication, right? How do warriors communicate? How do hunters communicate? Well, warriors, everything's on a need-to-know basis, right? They're going to protect anything that they care about. They're going to protect anything that could be used against them, anything that could be turned into a weakness, right? So their default relationship in warrior mode, and by the way, women go into warrior mode too, when they don't trust somebody, they act just like a man.
That's
we
right.
shut down, we conceal, right? We don't give details to people we don't trust, right? So in a man, his default relationship to communication is to conceal, and because his impulse is always to conceal, men have this thing they call a respect for privacy. It's what they want and it's what they provide, right? Well, did you ask John about how it's going with his wife? No. Why not? Well, if he wants me to know, he'll tell me.
That's right.
Right? Yes. So there's a respect for privacy. There's an assumption that if you want me to know, and women, oh my gosh, we get our feelings so hurt because for us, right, we feel safe when we're connected. And one of the ways to be connected is if you're interested in what's going on with me. And how I know you're interested is because you ask me questions, except for you never ask me any questions except for maybe how was your day? And if I give you more than a one-word answer, you get a really funny look on your face.
Yeah,
right?
Amazing. Yes, absolutely amazing. Different, totally different wiring.
It's definitely different wiring. And one of the biggest ways this shows up is what's natural for us as women is to relate to the thing we call feelings in the middle of our chest. I mean, it's literally, I assert, it's our connection to the eternal. And it's why when our feelings are hurt, we are disconnected from the eternal. And we can't find ourselves. And it's terrifying. And the only cure is someone generous enough to say, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. Okay, now I'm reconnected, right? And right, and Michael completed our Understanding Women course where we get to teach men why the swords of truth and logic will not have any impact on a woman whose feelings you've hurt. No. And if you try to go at it with truth and logic, you're going to end up with a 30-foot fire-breathing dragon that's going to burn you to a crisp. And really all you have to do to defeat that dragon is say, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. And helping men to get past, how could I hurt your feelings? I didn't reach out and punch you.
Right. They don't understand, but I actually heard this part of one of your tapes where the man stood up and he said, you were interacting with him and he said, but I didn't, and he logically told you what he did do. And you said to him, do you want what works or do you want to just go around and around and around and around and around and around and fail at this? Just say, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. And, I hope he got it. I don't know. But I do remember, I remember the first time that Michael said that to me. He didn't say it exactly like that. He asked me to call him when I was driving home from a meeting. And when I got on the phone with him, he was not available. He was texting or doing something else. And so it was like very frustrating for me. I was so excited. I wanted to talk and I had waited all day. And then he said, well, I got to go. And I said, okay, you called this call. What are you doing? You told me to call you. I'm calling you. And now you're texting and you got to go. And he said, well, are you upset? And I said, I know how to take care of myself. And then I was mad. I hung up. And then I think he called me back and he said, I'm sorry, I'm emotionally unavailable. And I went, where did he learn that? Who is this? Who am I talking to? Someone must have trained him to say that. I just said,
well, I definitely didn't train him to say it that way. He put it together. But we have found that I'm sorry I hurt your feelings are precisely magic words. And on the flip side of it, though, for a man or woman in hunting mode or protector mode, warrior mode, the issue isn't feelings. What happens is being disrespected. Mm-hmm. If you disrespected my time, my energy, my knowledge, my resources, my commitment, my accountability, if you disrespected that, and when like a man says, you disrespected me, literally a woman will look in her body to see if she had any feelings of disrespect. And if she didn't have any feelings of disrespect, she thinks, how could I have disrespected you? Mm. Well, the disrespect was not in what you felt. The disrespect was in what you did.
Yes.
Right? Even if you had good intentions, what you did was disrespectful. And so as hard as it is for a man to say, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings, when that seems illogical, it's hard for women to say, I'm sorry I disrespected you, when there's no feeling of disrespect that makes that seem true. And this is one of the biggest differences between men and women, is the orientation around action versus orientation around feelings. And it causes so many problems because we think, because we're like this, we think a man's actions are based on his feelings. And if he's not acting right, it's because he doesn't feel right. And this leaves women trying to get men to feel differently about them so they'll act differently towards them. And that's not hooked up for men. Right. In fact, men are ashamed when their actions are driven by their feelings. They're ashamed of that. To them, that's dishonorable. Mm. Honor is doing the right thing no matter how you feel.
So good. So good. I have that.
You wanted some basic pieces.
Yes, that's basic for me because I came from Landmark, and that's very male oriented.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's really hard for women, by the way, who grew up where I did and you were, and that is to learn that our feelings aren't everything. But our feelings are our connection to the sacred. Mm-hmm. And if we dishonor them, we dishonor the source of our magic. Sorry about that. Yeah. Do you want me to say that again? I was compelled to lower blinds, and then I realized that's really noisy.
Oh, I didn't.
Do you want me to say it again? Okay, good. All right, then we won't worry about it.
Say it again anyway, because it was really good. Really, really good.
Yeah, so as women, especially, the more we're in the workplace and the more we're in warrior and hunting mode, we will disregard our own feelings. They will be considered irrelevant by ourselves and others, and that might be fine in the workplace, but in terms of being nurturing, in terms of being what I would call a queen, in terms of being someone who's influential in the best ways, our connection to our feelings is our connection to the sacred. And a woman who disconnects from her feelings, she disconnects from her beauty. She disconnects from her magic. She disconnects from an incredible source of power that would ordinarily be available to her to produce results that no amount of masculinity is ever going to get her.
This is the part of this is like where I come in terms of, women who do that all day long. And then at night they want to be a vixen in the bedroom. And it's difficult for them to turn off the whole masculine persona, or what David Data calls shell, that she has to live in day to day to make the living, and then come home and want to surrender, want to be in her feminine, want to be sexy in her feminine and sensual in her feminine, and go back. And it's very difficult. It's almost like schizophrenic to do that. But I work with a lot of women like that because, yes, everything to what you just said. It's like, I have to disconnect that to go to work and get my briefcase and go. And then I have to come back and get connected to it again. Wow.
Yeah. Well, and it doesn't actually have to be that way. The course that we have called Being Extraordinary as a Woman is all about taking what might be considered innately feminine qualities and accessing them as a source of power and influence and effectiveness in any context. And we've had testimony after testimony of the results that women could produce in the workplace because they didn't turn into that other version of themselves.
So
they actually brought their whole self to the party. And it's one of the things I've heard from men about a lot. We've asked, what do you love about working with women? What do you love about working with women? And there's something that estrogen does to the brain that causes us and allows us to see things that a single focus, committed mind will screen out as irrelevant. And it's one of the things that men have said again and again, and they love the perspective. They love that women see things that they cannot see.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. Thanks for saying that, and thanks for offering that. It's good. You have very good, so timely solutions to this lifetime we're in at the present time. It's wonderful. Really, really wonderful. We're going to take a break here, and then when we come back, we're going to find out how people can actually access these things and find them and where they should start, et cetera, because I feel like we piqued a lot of curiosity just now, and I'm hoping so anyway. I feel like I need to do a part 2 and part 3 and part 4 with you, but that's okay. I know you've done all that already. So you're listening to Sex and Happiness. This is Laurie Handlers. Today I'm having the honor of interviewing Alison Armstrong, who has a handle on how the genders can relate to each other, what the differences are, and how you can capitalize, not in a manipulative way, but in an honest and true way, how we can get along, how we can not only survive, but how we can actually get along and enjoy each other and get the strengths that are possible in each of us. So stay tuned. You're going to hear how to get in touch, where to start, how to find out. I want you to take notes. We're coming right back.
So many times you've heard Laurie talk about emotional release on this show. She says over and over again how important it is for you and your loved ones. Now you can do emotional release in the privacy of your own home. And you can practice Lottie Han too, meditation that prepares you for making love in the unknown. In her CD, Shamanic Release and Lottie Han, she creates a safe and sacred space in which you can do the powerful work Laurie is known for in her Butterfly Workshops courses. Laurie sets you up with the proper positioning and breathing. Then she guides you through each emotional state to the beat of tribal African rhythms. This CD actually provides an easy way to do emotional clearing work on a regular basis. Order your copy of Shamanic Release and Lottie Han today and watch your relationships walk free of emotional baggage. To order your copy, go to butterflyworkshops.com right now.
As a sex and happiness coach, I understand that increased sexual participation intensifies sexual responsiveness and desire, as well as overall health and well-being. My experience with the Sybian has personally increased my sexual response, and I can now train women to use this machine to have peak orgasms as often as possible. I strongly believe this will add to their health and well-being whether they have a partner or not. The beauty and the miracle of the human body is that it adapts and changes much more rapidly than people change their beliefs or their opinions. The Sybian can make any woman's body more resilient with each peak orgasm. Sybian is an amazing experience, often described as the Lamborghini of sex toys. If you're a woman and you can get yourself to look at Sybian, you should do so. won't take away from your partner. It will only add. Trust me on this. I love my Sybian. Go to Sybian.com. That's SYBIAN.com or call 1-800-253-6135. That's 800-253-6135. And say Laurie Handlers told you about Sybian. And by the way, if you do have a partner, ask about Venus for Men. That's Venus, Venus, for men. We're back, and this is Sex and Happiness. I'm Laurie Handlers, your host, and interviewing Alison Armstrong. Alison, tell us where a person might begin with you. What's the first thing they should? Of course, they should go to understandmen.com, to your website, but what else? Where should they start? Because you have so many things. You have, what did you say, 99 hours?
99.4 and growing. Well, so right at our website, there's a curriculum tab, and our curriculum is organized into 3 different levels because that's how we've seen in the last 25 years people being able to not just hear the information, but learn it, absorb it, embody it, and implement it, which is really important to me. If it doesn't get into your life, what was the point of learning it, right?
Exactly.
So the first level is the understanding level. And it starts with understanding men and understanding women. And those are 2 different courses. And both men and women can start in either place. And we recommend that both men and women do both. Because you would assume that men understand men and women understand women. No. No. we don't. Women do not know why they are compelled to straighten crooked pillows. They do not know why something being out of place can cause a shock to their nervous system. They don't know why we're compelled to do what we do, like give lots and lots of details, for example, or get our feelings hurt when someone doesn't give us details. So understanding women illuminates who women are and this ability a woman has to shift from hunting mode to gathering mode, which changes everything about her and makes her a moving target for men. Like what worked 3 seconds ago isn't working now. What happened? And understanding men is all about who they are and what drives them and how they think and communicate and speak and listen and ways to get way more of what we need from men with less effort that has men left empowered and wanting to give more. So that's where it starts. And then it goes to understanding sex and intimacy and love and commitment, which is some of the most powerful things that we have learned about men and women and why we choose who we choose to partner with, for example, or how a man can behave so differently about sex. Why does he relate to one woman where it just seems like he's hungry and she's a refrigerator, and another woman like she's a queen and he's going to do anything he can to have her experience ultimate pleasure? What determines one or the other, right? How does it go that way? And so those are full on. Those are 2 different courses that people often do at the same time. And I interact with everybody. I have calls with everybody, which is awesome. And I know you know this as a live workshop leader. I had maybe 2 hours to answer questions in a whole weekend, right? I spend 12 hours a month just answering questions. It's the most fun ever. So the understanding level then is where you can go on to the second level, which is called being extraordinary. And the assertion is that extraordinary lives, extraordinary relationships, extraordinary loves, extraordinary workplaces, they happen because a person is being extraordinary. It's not because you have the right strategy. It's because you're being an extraordinary human being. And that our relationships will never get any better than we are as individuals. So the context of our curriculum exists inside of honor yourself first and then others. Because one of the ways to understand what's happening between us is that every one of us models, this is how you treat me. And how I treat myself is the model I am for others to treat me. And it's even worse than that, Laura, because we actually won't let anyone treat us better than we treat ourselves. We won't. We literally won't let them. Yeah, we won't let them. We can't receive it. We'll think we don't deserve it, and then now we're obligated, and we get in all our knickers in a twist. So learning to understand ourselves and accept why we do what we do and decide consciously what's worth protecting, what's worth supporting. And this is all based on what makes you you uniquely you. Mm-hmm. And if you can set up your life to feed you the essence of yourself instead of suck the essence of you out of you, which is what's normal. Mm-hmm. What if we kept being fed, right? Who could people be with enough appreciation, enough affection, enough admiration, enough sleep, enough alone time in nature? Who could a human being be if they kept feeding themselves?
Extraordinary.
They could be extraordinary, right? And yeah, and then and of course, to be able to do that, there's so much baggage that has to be jettisoned, right? So we have a whole course for that called Extreme Freedom. And then the third level is the art of partnership. And it's really the domain of human spirit. So just an ordinary human being is compelled mostly by instinct with occasional moments of clarity and courageous choices. The level of partnership, if you want to have partnerships, you actually have to make extraordinary choices all day long. Mm-hmm. So you have to have an extraordinary awareness of being compelled by instinct and use that awareness to realize, oh, this is a moment of choice. This tension I'm feeling in my body, this is an opportunity to choose. This compulsion I have to get this solved and get it done and work at the compromise so we can get going. Oh, okay, wait. This is not a time to choose, right? So the art of partnership, the course is there. It starts at the heart of partnership and then goes into the dance of partnership and partnership at work and all this really cool partnership stuff that we do even with horses, for example, to embody partnership. That is really distinguishing the extraordinary choices to make. And there's 14 elements of partnership we've identified. And not a single human instinct pulls in favor of them. In fact, they all pull in the opposite direction. And I mean, that could sound like a horrible thing to find out, but I find it enormously freeing. Like, what if there's nothing wrong with you? What if you're just human and what you want in your life, the degree of intimacy and passion and connection and respect and love and joy is beyond human instincts. They'll never get us there because they're just designed for our survival.
Exactly. And
that's
then
their job is for us to survive, not to be happy.
Right.
Yeah. What we're compelled to do will never make us happy because it wasn't meant to make us happy. So that's how it's all organized, and it's very logical because I can't help but be logical, as I said before, right? And one thing goes to another, and I think my favorite thing about it being online is that people can buzz through it if they want. I know someone who was on her 4th course in 4 weeks, or they can take their time. And there's all these prompts and journal questions and things to interview other people about and just a ton of support. And people can take their time and make sure that what they've learned, it gets into every part of their life and every relationship. And it's very exciting to me. It's so much more impactful than when I led all these workshops in a weekend.
Yeah, I congratulate you. I really congratulate you for doing that. I just took the step to put a lot of my programs online, and it just makes greater access to a wider variety of people, to people who'll never make it to class and what have you. and it just puts your creativity out there. So it's something to be congratulated for. And also it's making a difference. Look, I mean, I found out about you and had the desire to call you, write you, get you on my show because I'm living at the benefit of somebody who did a bunch of your courses. And it makes a difference. He's not just some guy who fell off of a tree. He's a guy who really put the stuff into practice, and it makes a tremendous difference. So I was like, you know, who are you?
Who are you? So that's what I've been saying about men for 27 years. Who are you? Who are these people? Right? They're so not what I was taught. And please will you give my love to Michael.
It's great to hear that. And I thank you, Allison, so much for doing what you do in the world, for making this big of a difference between genders and allowing people to become partners and appreciate each other's differences, appreciate their own stuff that doesn't make sense, and putting it out there so that so people can be empowered. I really, really thank you for this. So everybody, I want to thank you all for listening today. Go find Allison Armstrong online by going to understandmen.com. Don't shortchange yourself. You have an opportunity here. If you've been wondering about all this stuff and you're saying, oh, Lori finally got to it on her show. Well, go to the website, understandmen.com, and find what you need. And tune in next time. We'll have another amazing guest for you that will make a difference in your life. That's really all I want. Thank you so much for being my listeners and listening week after week to my show. Thank you all. This is Lori Handler signing off for Sex and Happiness.
Thank you for joining us today for Sex and Happiness. To learn more about Lori and her work, please go to butterflyworkshops.com or follow her on Twitter or Facebook. You can send her an email at sexandhappiness@gmail.com. We'll see you again right here next week for another edition of Sex and Happiness.